Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Thanks for watching. This episode, I'm going to be doing my first product review. I've got a lot of different tools and I've used a lot of different things over the years, doing woodworking and remodeling. And every now and then you come across one of those products that really changes the way you think about doing something, or solves a really big problem that you're having, or gives you the flexibility to do something that you wouldn't previously been able to do. In this case, this product is called Exapath, and it's made by a company called HomePath. Exapath is a really neat product, and I'm excited to have this thing in my house and show you guys what it does and how easily it goes in. But first off, why did I choose this product? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. First off is I'm doing spray foam insulation down all my exterior walls and across my ceiling. Now, I also designed each room so that you could put a TV and a bed on just about every wall. So what that means is during the time that we're living in this house, we may move the bed a couple different times in a room and want to put a TV on any one of those walls. Well, if I put a TV on a wall and I mount it, on a wall mount, I don't want to have that cabling just running all willy-nilly down my wall. Now, on your interior walls, this isn't much of a problem. You would just mount the TV. They make kits out there where you just pop in a faceplate, drill a hole, run your cabling down the interior of the wall and out the bottom. That's not that difficult, and that can be done at any time. But what happens if you want to do that on an exterior wall that's full of spray foam? Well, you got a couple different options. The first one is before you do your spray foam, you create a channel with, say, like a 2x2 or even a 2x4. When they come in and spray the spray foam, you take that 2x4 out after the spray foam dries, and now you have a void in your spray foam. The problem with that is, as you run cabling up and down that thing, it's going to start eating up the inside of that foam. Or worst case, if you're trying to run a piece of fish tape down that wall, the end of the cable or the fish tape is going to be catching on the spray foam, and it may hang up and cause you some problems trying to get it down in there. Now, this may be a super cost-effective way to do it, but it does have its limitations. The other option is to run Pvc Conduit. Now, that's something that's been used quite a bit, and it works. The only thing I don't like about using Pvc Conduit is that you have to run your receptacle boxes ahead of time. So normally you would have one down at the bottom, say a foot off the ground. But what if you want to put a TV up there later on? Well, you're going to have to plan ahead and put that receptacle box up high in the middle of your wall. And if you don't put a TV on there right away, now you've got this receptacle box sticking out in the middle of your drywall. If you didn't put that there, you're going to have a really hard time trying to get to that PVC conduit and tie into it later. And there's not a lot of room inside that thing either. So I started digging around on the internet trying to find a way to solve these two problems. How do I get a channel in my wall that is clean, large, and gives me the flexibility to add receptacle boxes at any location along that run at any time? So after a lot of digging, I found HomePath, and I found their Exapath. This solves a couple of different problems for me. What this does is there's a channel here that goes in the middle of your wall. It sits in between your studs. There's a bottom bracket and a top bracket, and the top bracket goes through your top plate, or if you were saying on a second floor and all your cabling is running from the basement up, you run this on the bottom plate. It also comes with these handy little snap-in receptacles. Now these just snap into these two channels here. They even include nail plates. So what's unique about this product is that you can run electrical cable across the front of this channel, because the interior of the channel doesn't go all the way out to the ends. It actually gives you some room here, and that's where these channels snap into. So what's really cool about this product is that I can install the main system into my wall and not add any receptacles to it at all. So for example, in some of these bedrooms, if I have a location on an exterior wall where I'm most likely not going to be adding a network drop or going to put a TV to it, but maybe in the future I might, or say I might put a desk there at some point or a computer, what it lets you do is you can actually pre-install this into the wall and not put any receptacles into it. All you got to do is locate it later, drill a hole in the wall, and snap in this receptacle box. It's as easy as that. So let me take you up close to this thing and show you what comes in the kit. So what do you get in the kit? So the first thing in here is the channel. The channel comes pre-cut to the length that you specify when you make the order. Also included in the kit are these two brackets. Now they're a little bit different. The bases of both of these brackets are pretty much the exact same, but one of them has this top section here. What this is this goes through your top plate or your bottom plate if you're running on a subfloor or on a basement. So you can run all your networking cable up through the bottom. So this would mount in here like that. In my case, I have a cement slab, so all of my networking is running through the attic. It also comes with these receptacles. Now what's cool about this system is that it just snaps into place. So right here on the sides, it's got these little tabs. And what they do is they clip in to the rail here. It also comes with nail plates. This is something that you wouldn't typically think that a system like this would actually come with. They really thought about the applications of this thing and where it might go in a wall. So say, for example, you're running this between two outlets that are connected on the same circuit. Most electricians are not going to run from an outlet up to the top plate, over, and then back down. They're just going to go straight across the studs. Well, if this thing is in the way, how do you get through it? So what they did was they gave you a little bit of room in here. So what you can do is you can run your electrical cable perpendicular to your networking cable, which is the way networking cable needs to be ran anyway if it comes into contact with a power cable. Otherwise, if you run them parallel, you're going to get some interference in your signal. So they have a nail plate that they include with the kit. And the nail plate, like the receptacle box, snaps into place. And it snaps in extremely securely. It's not coming loose. And they also include all the screws you need to attach all these different brackets to your top and bottom plates. So these brackets are actually pretty interesting. They not only double as the bracket that holds the channel in place, it also acts as a T-square and gives you a system to mark your center hole when you're boring through the top plate for this PVC tube. So on the side of it here, it's got this little notch. So what you do is, say if you wanted to put your conduit right here. All right, so take your bracket, you lay it up on here, press it up against the face of the plate, line up your mark, and then draw a straight line. Then over here on the side, you stick your pencil in that little notch, and you run, and voila, you've got your mark cut. Now all you got to do is stick your hole saw in here, drill right through your plate, and insert the PVC. So let me take you through the process of actually installing this thing into a wall. All right, so to install these bottom plates, you're going to need a couple things. First is, of course, the bottom plate, pencil, tape measure, screws, which HomePath actually does provide in their kit. Now, if this is a top plate, you're going to need another drill with a hole saw on the end of it. We'll get to that here in a second. So first, you got to figure out where you want to put them in relation to these studs. Now, because this is my telecom room, I'm going to have a lot of electrical cable running through here, much more beyond standard Cat 6. I've got speaker wire running in here. I've got a lot of power receptacles coming in. So I need to be conscious of where I put these because I don't want them running too close to any 110 voltage. Low voltage isn't a problem. So I originally thought about putting these on either side, on the inside of these 2x4s just like this. But I have power outlets directly on the side of each of these studs. So I don't want these too close. I don't want to have to worry about interference. So I'm going to bring these inboard just like that and pretty much center them up right between these two studs. So I'm just going to eyeball this. I don't really need to worry about getting it exactly dead in the middle. But what I am going to do is measure my distance from this stud over to the center of this first plate. So I've got 5 and a, come on, tape. So I've got 5, let's just make it 5 1/4. All right, so there you go. 5 1/4. So now all I got to do is when I do the top plate, I just transfer that 5 1/4 to my center mark, and away we go. That way I know they're right in line with each other. Also want to make sure that your stud that you're measuring from is actually plumb to the wall. If it's got a little bit of lean to it and you take 5 1/4 down here and put it up top, now your exopath channel also has a lean to it, which isn't the end of the world, but if it's way off, like you might see in some framing jobs, that might be something you need to watch out for. So in my case, my framer is really good, so I don't have to worry about that. So what I'm going to do is, I know this is 5 1/4 to the inside here, so I'm going to measure 5 1/4 and get my center line. Now, being that this is the bottom plate, I don't really have to worry about using these marking guides on here or the T-square function of this thing to get this in place. But because it's going to be easier to show you how this is done on the top plate, I'm going to do it down here on the bottom plate. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this bracket, turn it upside down, and to place this foot that doesn't move against the face of your plate down here, and then line this edge with your center mark. Once you have that lined up, just push it on there so it's nice and firm and you know it's square. Draw your center line. Now you take your pencil, stick it in that little notch, slide it left and right, and there you go. Now you got your center mark. So if this were the top plate, I'll take the hole saw, center it on that mark, and drill straight through the top plate. But being that we don't have to worry about that, I can just go ahead and get this thing installed. Now what's also neat about this system is that when it's upside down, it acts like a T-square, and you get your notch here to get your center mark. But when you're actually installing it, the other foot here that will eventually be folded up is down below the base, is down below the bottom of the bracket. So what this does is it lets you stick it on there and square it up. Now, if you're doing this on an exterior wall that has decking on the exterior,
this back edge here will just set flush up against it, and you won't really have to worry about that. But in the case of an interior wall where you don't have any drywall or anything on here, you want to make sure you get this thing dead center. And having that little foot right there helps you out. Anyway, so once you get your screw, stick it in the hole. Make sure this thing stays centered and is square to the face, square to the front of the plate. And run your screw. Alright, so when you're doing that, you really don't want to send this home because that block is hollow in there, so you could crush this or crack this thing out. So you just want to run that screw till it's snug. Alright, so now we're done with that one. Next one, we're just going to set it right next to it. Make sure we get it squared up. Stick our screw in. And there we go. Alright, so now to the top plate. Top plate pretty much goes in the same way the bottom plate did. The only difference here is that you're going to be drilling a pretty good size hole through these top plates here. So first thing off, I take that 5 1/4 offset that I had down there and transfer it up here. All right, throw the tape up there. Pray to God I don't forget about it. Now to take this bracket, you do the exact same thing we did on the bottom. Only difference here is that we're actually going to be using that center mark to drill our hole. So line up the side of the plate with our line and make sure that that little foot is up against the face of this top plate here. Draw our line and stick the pencil in the notch, drag left and right, and you got your center mark. So now that you get the center mark in place, we can start making our hole. Now one thing you got to be careful here is that you don't let this bit walk around on this mark. It needs to be exactly on that mark. So it can be a little tricky. In this case, I actually have a split in this 2x4 that happens to be right where my mark is at. So in this case, the split is actually helping me, but I have had a couple of them now where the split is just off to either side by like 1/8 of an inch, and the bit wants to walk into that. And if that happens, there is a little bit of play between the bore and the PVC pipe. So if it's a touch off, it's not a big deal. But if you're more than 1/8 of an inch off, you're going to have to get creative about how to keep this thing centered in there. So something to think about. Also, instead of using a hole saw like I have here, if you had like an auger bit or a paddle bit type, might work a little bit better for keeping centered. And it would definitely save you the hassle of having to try to pull that plug out of here. I don't have a lot of these things to do, so it's not that big of an issue. Anyway, let's drill this hole. The only thing bad about this is probably the worst part about installing these things is you get absolutely covered in sawdust doing it. First section. All right, so now that the hole is drilled, stick this thing in here. Now, because I've got 3 layers of 2x4s here to go through, I had to go in through the attic to get this top one drilled out here. So the hole isn't quite straight through. So getting this in here is actually going to be a little bit more difficult than what it normally is. So I'm going to actually have to hammer it in a little bit. And I'm going to be careful to not crack it. There we go. Now that it's flushed up against there, just make sure we're square. Normally this thing has a little wiggle to it, so you can actually use this block here to make sure you're plumb to your top and bottom plates. But because that bore, because that hole I drilled in there isn't exactly straight, it's got a bit of a bind on the tube. So, but it is straight. So, all right. Now that it's in there, take our screw, put it in the hole, and send her home. There we go. Now to just repeat the process for the one next to it. Alright, so this part of the install couldn't get any simpler. All we're going to do now is take the channel and we're going to slide it right onto this base, and then these back two legs here are going to slide on either side of that block. And then there's little teeth on either side that are going to snap into the grooves on these two little legs. And while you're doing that, get it lined up with the top one as well. Once you got it close, just give it a quick tap. And there we go. That's about as simple as it gets. Just slide it in place, get it lined up, and then just give it a quick bump with your hand, or if you're standing up, you can actually use your foot and just tap it in. It did wiggle around a little bit only because I don't have that back screw cranked down because I don't want to worry about cracking that block. It doesn't need to be crazy tight. But what's going to happen is when I take this block here, fold this thing over, get it lined up, it also has teeth in here that are going to snap into this channel. And voila. Now you got to do is run this second screw in here, and this thing will be locked in tight. Now you want to make sure you're still sitting square here. There it is. And it is very, very solid in here. It is not going to pop out by accident. You'd have to hit it really, really hard with something heavy for this thing to come out. And more likely than not, you're going to end up breaking off this whole bottom plate to get this channel out of here. So now if for whatever reason you decide you do not want this channel here, all you got to do is come in here, run your screws out, take the whole system out. Nothing to it. All right, let's get this second one in place. All right, so that's snapped in place. Flip up the block, snap it in, and run our screw. There we go. All right, now to finish up the top. All right, so the top of the channel is going the exact same way the bottom of the channel did. Just line them up, give them a push, snap in. And then flip the blocks down, line them up, snap them in, and run the screws. And there you have it. All right, so now comes the useful part of this system and really where it shines and why this product is so unique. These are the receptacles. So I'm gonna come up and mark 16 inches from the bottom, right in the middle of this thing. I'll bring the camera in here in just a second and show you exactly what I'm doing. What's cool about this system, tape out of there, is that I can put this receptacle anywhere along this channel that I want. And if later on down the road, I don't like where this receptacle's at and I want to move it, I just come in, pop it out, do a quick drywall patch right here, and then put it somewhere else. Nothing to it. So I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit closer and show you exactly what's going on here. All right, so here's my mark for 16 inches from the floor. Now, if you notice right here, there's a groove. And what that groove is that's your centering groove for your 2 1/8 inch bit. So you just line the bit up on your mark in that groove and drill a hole. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and mark the other side here. All right. Let's drill these holes. Now, this is the first time I've actually bored a hole through the face of one of these things and put on a receptacle. simply because in this room, I'm not worried if the height of these receptacles don't match the rest of my outlets in the house, because this is going to be the server room. I'm probably going to have multiple outlets on these two runs here, so I'm not really worried if these don't match my outlets on either side. The rest of the house, though, that's pretty critical, so I'm going to wait till the electrician gets out here before I do the rest of those. So anyway, here we go. Let's see if I can't screw this up. Line her up. Nothing to it. Now this is one place that you definitely do want to use a hole saw and not a spade bit or an auger, because that will most likely walk around it quite a bit and chew up that hole pretty bad. So get that out of there. And try the second one. There we are. Ah, the hell with it. I'll take that out there later. Anyway, now the hole's drilled, we just line up our receptacle, snap it in. There we go. And that, man, that is solid. You are not moving that by accident. It might be kind of hard to see on the camera, but this is a super clean finished edge here. I was worried about this side here where the hole saw, it's got a lot of burrs and everything on here. And I was thinking about coming in here with a like a rat tail rasp or something like that and cleaning this up. But once I snap this outlet in here, it actually covers that cut edge and extends into the column by, I don't know, maybe a thin 1/8 of an inch. But it cleans it up really, really well, so there's no raw edges there, and it's super smooth all the way around for any of your cabling to go through there. So that's pretty cool. I really, really like this. And like I said, it is really secure. And now if in the future I don't want this here and I want to move it, all I got to do is just squeeze these in, pull it out. Nothing to it. And then it's just a simple drywall patch. So let's pop that back in there. There it is. All right, now let's snap the second one in and see if this first one wasn't a fluke with how easy it goes in. That's it. I gotta say, I am really, really impressed with how easy this part of it is. The rest of it's pretty simple, but this is just, and this is too easy. This is great. These are gonna be a lot of fun later on when I get the house finished and start really getting to play around with these things. All right, so there you have it, guys. That is the Exapath by HomePath. So far, I am really, really impressed with this product. It goes in super easy and fast. Honestly, the only thing that's slowing me down is that I got the wrong bit to be drilling through these top plates. If I got an auger bit or even a spade bit, this wouldn't be a problem. I keep having to stop and pull that plug out of the into that hole saw. But apart from that, this is a really simple process. The top and bottom brackets are a piece of cake to put in. The channel just snaps into place and then you secure it with a screw. I mean, it can't get any easier than that. And later on down the line, if I don't like where the receptacle is at, I just got to pull it out, move it on up, make a new hole, patch the previous hole with some drywall, and that's it. There's nothing to this thing. And I can't wait to start using it once we get this house finished up. The versatility that it's giving me and the flexibility of putting outlets wherever I want is really, really cool. So I'm super excited about that. So anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, or if you have any questions about this product, shoot me a comment down below or visit HomePath's website and check it out for yourself. Again, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more videos to put out about this house project that I'm doing here. And this is one of a few products that I'm probably going to be doing reviews on. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll see you next time.